Hey Google, what's a React router?
Here's a summary from FreeCodeCamp, Medium. React Router is the standard routing library for React. React Router keeps your UI in sync with the URL. It has a simple API with powerful features like lazy code loading, dynamic route matching, and location transition handling.
Incorrect. Yo, in this episode we are gonna cover React Router. So normally on websites, when you go to About page or something like that, you would have to fetch that About page from the server. However, with React and React Router, what you can do is when you go to About page, you would just load up that specific component. So you don't have to go out and fetch for a HTML page or something. So everything is very fast and dynamic. The page doesn't refresh and it just gives that app feeling to it. So prepare yourself, open up VS Code, stretch your back, stretch your face. Let's get going in the morning. Alrighty everybody, so the first step that we have to do is just open up VS Code as usually, and then what we actually want to do is install another plugin. So I just have a Create React App project here opened up, empty, nothing interesting, I didn't do anything to it. So to do that, npx create react app, and then you give it a name. I gave this one routing, and then you just let this install. And after you do that, we would have to install the library to handle the routing. And that is called, all you have to do is say npm install react router DOM, like so. Hit enter, and then we wait. Good, so now that we have everything installed, we can hit npm start. npm start, that's gonna open up the development server for us. I'm gonna close up this terminal because I trust that it's gonna open, hopefully. And what I'm actually gonna do before we go too deep into this, I'll just drag this one here, by the way, so we can see what's going on. And this is just gonna be, again, a simple React boilerplate project for us. And what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna copy everything from the app.js and I'm gonna make a few pages here. So this is kind of like you would have a few components with different pages. So maybe I'm gonna have an about page. So I'm gonna say about.js. I'm gonna paste everything in here and I'm just gonna change a few things. So it's not gonna be app anymore. It's gonna be about. We're gonna export the about. And I'm gonna delete everything in the header and I'll just say h1 about page. About page. About page, there we go. And we can get rid of this class name as well. And that's pretty much all we need. I'm gonna get rid of this logo. Actually, you know what? Let's go back here and in the app.js and I'm gonna remove the logo from here as well and everything from here. And I'm just gonna say h1 app. All right, hit save. Let's do this again. So we have two to work with. I'm gonna create another one. And let's say we have like a shop or something, shop.js. Perfect, import everything again from the about. I'm gonna rename this to shop and we're gonna export shop and rename this from about page to shop page. And quickly, I'm gonna also create a navigation. So let's create a new file, nav.js. If this component tree is getting too crazy, you can just create a folder named components and stick everything in there. So, but in this case, we're fine. Let's rename this to nav, and this is gonna return us a navigation. So a nav here, and why are you not auto-completing? There we go, thank you very much. And here, let's just say I have a h3, maybe I have a logo or something. And then here you would have a UL with a list of all the navigation tabs. So about, and we have shop in this case. Shop, hit save. All right, we're exporting, let's make sure we export nav here with large N, hit save, and let's just import everything in here. Import, we're gonna import the nav. That's coming from /the nav, perfect. Import, let's get the about from about. This is so fun to do. Import, where is it? Shop. No, shop from shop. This is the best part of development. This is what makes me alive. Okay, so we imported everything. Now, if we add everything down here, let's do, well, we would have, I'm gonna remove this h1 app, doesn't make any sense. We would have the nav on top, right? Obviously, and then we would have about here, and then we would have shop. The problem is, if we add it like so, it's going to render out all the components. So if we take a look back here in Chrome, as you can see, everything is rendered. But that's not what we want. We want specific parts of our application to be rendered when the route changes. So maybe I want to have the nav here always, but when I go to /about, like so, that's when I want to render the about page. And when I go to shop, that's when I want to render the shop page. So how does React Router help us with that? Well, let's take a look. And before we do that, let me just kind of remove everything from the app.css, because I kind of want to add some styling to our nav in a bit. Actually, you know, let's do it now, because I'm going to forget in the future. So nav, let's just add a class to this. I'm going to add a class name. Actually, since we have only one nav, we can just do nav. Nav, I'm just going to add a display flex to this, a justify content space around, and then line item center. And let's add a min height of like 10 VH to this, and a beautiful, beautiful bluish background color. Light blue, that's ugly. Let's change it. I want this nice dark bluish color. And let's also change the color to white, because this is a very dark color. Okay, let's take a look. And yeah, that's good. All right, and let's also maybe do this one as well. For that, actually, I'm gonna add a Nav Links to this, a class name. So it's equal to, this is gonna be Nav Links. Okay, good. Let's go here, get the Nav Links, and I'm just gonna add a width of like 50% and a display flex to this as well. Justify content, space around, align items, center, and what am I missing? The stupid, the dots, those stupid dots. How do you remove the dots? I'm not sure, let me think. You do list style, none. That should work. Let's take a look. There we go. All right, so we have the logo and the shop, but now we are actually kind of outputting everything. So let's go into incorporating React Router in this. Down here, we're gonna import a few things from React Router DOM. Thank you, Truck, for coming by. Very much. All right, close this up. Make sure to do the semicolons after and not be stupid like me. Perfect, and here we're gonna add some curly braces because we wanna import specific things from React Router DOM. And the first thing we want is something called BrowserRouter. And this is a long name, so you're gonna see this a lot of people do, is they're gonna say as router. And what this as basically means is that you can rename BrowserRouter to something that you want here. So I just renamed this to this. Okay, that's all it is. I'm gonna add a comma. Another thing I want is something called switch. And the last thing is something called route. Okay, make sure to add from here to let it know. And how we incorporate this, let me kind of go through all of these. To add the ability to handle routing in React, that's why you need this BrowserRouter. In this case, we named it router. And the way you use it is you just wrap all your components that you want that routing functionality to be available in. So router, actually, I'm gonna do like this, router, okay, whoa. So basically everything that's in between this router is gonna have the ability to use routing. Okay. Perfect, but nothing's gonna happen yet. As you can see, if we take a look, nothing happens. We're gonna use something called route. And what this does, it renders out a component based on the URL. So do I want the nav? No, I kind of want to have the nav across all my pages, but I do want the about to show up only when I go to about. So I would create a route like so, and rather than rendering out this about page like so, I'm gonna delete it. Okay, and then what you would do is you would give it a path. So path, and you would set it equal to something. All right, and here you can define the path it should render out. So this I want to go to /about. And now when we go to /about, it's gonna render out the about component. However, we do need to specify which component because right now it doesn't know. So very simple, all you have to do is add another prop here, component like so, and you can set this equal to, we're going to add curly braces, and all you have to do is say about. Easy peasy, lemon squeezano. All right, delete the shop, and pretty much we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a path, set it equal to slash shop, I believe. Yeah, there we go. And we can render out the component shop like so. Perfect. Hit save. And let's take a look on what we got. As you can see, it's not displayed anymore. Delete this and look at that. We have nothing here. However, if we go to slash shop, look at that. We have shop. If we go to slash about, we are going to render out the about. Now, let me just create another component down here, just to illustrate something, a problem that you might run into. So rather than making a new file, I'm just going to create one here. I'm going to say const home set equals, just another component here. I'm just going to return a div that's going to say homepage, okay? Let's say we have a homepage. Hit save, and right here, I want to render out another route that is going to take me to the path of just slash. And slash basically means when you visit the website, it's the home page, right? It doesn't have anything after the URL. It's just the name of the website. So slash, and then we render out the component home. Okay, simple, makes sense. Well, let's take a look at what's happening here. If we go to home, well, we have the home page. However, if we go to slash shop, well, we have homepage and shop. Why is that happening? So the reason why this is happening is basically it just checks without being super specific and exact. So it goes through all of these routes here and it checks, hey, does it have a slash? So it goes here, checks if it has a slash, boom, that's all it cares about. It has a slash, render out the component. Perfect. Here, it has slash about, so obviously it's going to render out slash about. And here, it's not going to render it out anymore because it has slash shop. However, here, we don't have anything specific after, so it's going to render out the component. But we don't want this to happen. How can we fix this issue? Well, this is where the switch comes in. And the switch, basically, all it does is it kind of stops the whole process of going through all of these routes. As soon as it goes to one and it matches the URL, it's going to stop and it's going to only render out that component. So the way we can use that switch is I'm just going to sandwich it just like we did this router component across all of our routes. And now, as soon as it detects the shop, the about or shop, whichever I want to go to, let's say I want to go to about and hit save, and look what's happening now. As soon as it reaches the slash, it stops. It doesn't render out the about anymore because this is the first match. Again, it starts looking from here on outwards. And since this is only a slash, it's gonna render it out and it's not gonna render out anything else. So how can we fix this? Well, one way we could is to move this about up here. And this is not nice, but look at that. Now about renders. So as soon as it reaches the about, it renders and it doesn't render out these components anymore. And actually the way we can make this the easiest is rather than just kind of handling these routes and putting it up on each other and down on each other until everything works, is we can specify that the slash should be exact. So only if you go to slash, this component should render out. Anything that comes after is not going to work anymore. So we can do exact here. And now, basically, only when it's like so, or like so, this home component is going to render out. As soon as we go to about, only the about is going to render out, and we go to shop, only the shop is going to render out. All you have to remember is that when you add a simple slash like this and you want to go to the home page, well, that's not very concrete, and React Router is going to render it out anyway. So you would have to specify that, hey, only if it's slash, we should render out component. And the switch component, all it does, again, is as soon as it finds that route with the specific path, that's the only component it's going to render out, and everything else doesn't matter. All right, now since we added this, let's see if we can navigate to them in here, because I don't like doing this. And nobody really does that in real life. So let's go back to nav, and the way we can do that is rather than adding an anchor tag that we would normally do, we would import something from React Router DOM. So let's import something from React Router DOM. And here I can add curly braces, and what I can import is something called link like that. And we can wrap around our LIs in this link. So let's add a link here. Perfect. I'm gonna wrap it around the list, and we can kind of do it the same way to the other one. That's one. I'm just gonna copy paste this and just add shop because I find it faster. Hit save, and this only takes one prop, and the prop that it takes is something called to. And I guess you can guess what this is gonna do. If I add /about, it's gonna take me to /about. If I add to here, that equals to /shop, well, yep, let's take a look. And the links, we cannot see them right now because they're kind of blue, so let's fix that. Simple way we can do that is just add a const style here and just create an object that's gonna have a color of white. Perfect, and let's do nav style here. And now I can just add a style here that's equal to nav style. And I'm gonna copy and paste this down here as well. So on my link, hit save, let's take a look, and there we go, we have about and shop. When we click, look at that, it's dynamically changing. And this one doesn't work, link to shop, because I added it to the LI. So let me just copy and paste it up here. Hit save, about and shop. There we go. How beautiful is that? And since we didn't add the nav component to the routes, this is always gonna stay up here and it's not gonna re-render. So that's very, very nice. Perfect. Now let's see how we can create dynamic routes, because that's one of the most fun and cool things we can do with this router. So let's go to the shop, and maybe I want to render out a few items here. And a simple thing I found is a Fortnite API. Okay. And what they have here is basically you can run these fetch calls here. And one I found that's very simple is upcoming items. And if we click run here, it's just going to throw me a list of upcoming items in their shop. So I'm going to copy this in a bit. Let's go to shop here and kind of make this work. So when we go to the shop, I want a state in here. So I'm going to say use state and use effect. Again, the state kind of holds the information that we're getting from the API, and the use effect basically runs that fetch call when our component mounts. So let's create a fetch call here. I'm going to say const, and we're going to say fetch items. And this is going to be equal to a function, and I'm going to add async here because this is coming from a database. And I'm going to say const data is going to be equal to await, and I'm going to fetch this link here. So let's copy this sucker, paste it in here, and then let's just console log out the data and let's see what we get. Perfect. And up here, to run this, I'm going to use the use effect function here. And if I add this empty parentheses, curly brackets here, that means that this is only going to run when the component mounts. So we can just do fetch items in here. Perfect. Hit save, and let's take a look what we get. Go back here when we are on shop page. And as you can see, when I'm on the about page, nothing should happen. But when we go to the shop, look at that, we get a response. And here, I think we need to actually convert this into JSON. Hello, JSON. Let's go to JSON, const, let's say this is the actual items that I'm getting back here, and I'm gonna await data.json. And down here, rather than console logging the data, we're gonna console log the items. Hit save. Let's take a look, and there we go. We get 10 rows of different items. Look at that, gorgeous, perfect. Let's render out something in here. I want to render out the name. Let's only do that. So how do we do that? Well, we have an object here, and it has an array of objects. Inception. And the way we can do that is we can extract this information, and then we can add it to our state. So I'm just going to extract these items. That's all I want. So let's create a state to put those items in. So how do we do that? We say const and we say items. and set items. And that's going to be equal to use state. And here I'll just drop in, well, what is this going to be? It's going to be an empty array. So I'm going to add an array here. Okay, simple. Okay. And here, rather than console logging, well, actually, I'm going to keep that. But what we can do is we can set items, okay, from here, items, and we can just set the items to the items that I'm getting back here, the one that we named, the data, the power. There we go. Perfect. Add this to my state. And now we should have this dot slash. So this is basically all I have in my thing. Okay, a list of these items. And here, if I open this up, we can get the name. So there we go. We have the name in there. Perfect. So here I can kind of render out, let's do items.map. And here we get back the individual item. That's going to return the H1 with item.name. So let's take a look if that works. Item.name. Pray for the gods. Hit save. Ooh, errors. No, items.map is not a function. And I think the reason why that happens is because this is what we're adding to our state. So we're adding this object, okay? But I want to add this items. And since I named this items, we're going to have to access items again. Because if I want to access the rows, I would do items.rows here. But this is named items, so we have to do items.items again. And I'm going to add items.items and the set items. So now it should work. Hit save. Let's take a look. And look at that. We're getting back a list of all the different items from that API. Perfect. We're getting this warning because we didn't add a key. We can add this item ID if we want. Do we want? Sure, let's add it. We can add a key here. And it's going to say item.item ID. Hit save. Let's see if that gets rid of our error. And there we go. It does. Now, how can we create a link? Let's say I want to have this list of items, but when I click on one, I want it to take me to that specific page. And there I can maybe display more information about this item, images, text, description, and things like that. So let's see how we can create that dynamic route. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to import the link from React Router. So I'm going to say import link from React Router DOM. Perfect. We got the link. We got the power. How do we use this power? Well, we're going to wrap all the links around this item.name. Let's go here. I'm going to link this around it like so. I'm going to copy this, paste it in here. All right, perfect. And to, where do I want this to take me to? Well, I want me to take me to shop. So I'm going to add shop slash, and here I can add a dynamic piece of data. So the way we can do that, I'm actually going to convert this to backticks rather than the other one, rather than the simple quotes. And we can do slash shop again, slash, and I can interpolate some JavaScript here by adding a dollar. Where's my dollar? Dollar sign, there we go. And here I can just pass that item.item ID. Perfect, hit save, and let's take a look. And as you can see, when I hover over it, down here, down there, you're gonna see that we get that preview of where it's going. And as you can see, look at that. When we click on one of these, it's gonna route me there. However, we don't have a route set up to go to this. So how can we do that? So it takes us to a different page or component when we click on this. Now this works here in the URL, but nothing else. So the way we can do that, if we don't know a specific data that we're gonna get, is we can do this. We can go to route, we can create another route, and we can take it to the path shop slash, let's do slash shop, slash, and here I can add a double dot. It's not a double dot, it's a colon. Is it a colon? Colon, yeah. And I can add a parameter here, like ID or something. You can add anything you want, but I'm gonna leave it at ID. So when this hits, when you go to shop the colon ID now, so that what that means is shop slash anything else in here, it's gonna render out the component I want here. So let's create a component for this. And I'm gonna say maybe this is gonna be an item detail app.js, okay? This is the page that's gonna take me when I want additional detail. So I'm just gonna copy everything from here actually, because from the shop, because I wanna use a lot of things from here. And I'm gonna keep this items, I'm gonna rename this to item and set item, okay? I'm not sure if this is gonna be an object though, because what we're gonna do is I'm gonna eventually fetch another piece of data from an API with that specific ID. But let's not do that right now. Let's just delete everything in here. And I'm gonna get rid of this fetch item. So I'm gonna make everything singular. And here, again, I'm gonna just delete everything in here. And let's just render this out. Let's say item, okay? So I'm not doing anything in this component so far. I just have a function item. I'm gonna rename this export item. Okay, I just have an empty use effect here that doesn't really do anything, doesn't fetch anything, and an empty use state. I just want to render out this, okay? But I kind of set this up to what we're gonna do in a bit. So I'm gonna bring this back here into the app.js, import item detail from /item detail. So we get that sucker, and what we can do now here is just render out component equal to item detail. Perfect, so now look at this. Fetch items is not defined. Okay, well, why is that? Line 6 in item detail. Line 6, where is fetch items? Okay, so we didn't, let's just get rid of everything in here. You know what? Why am I making my life hard? Perfect, now let's take a look. When I hit shop, well, it's gonna take me to the shop route. But when I click on this or add anything here, let's do blah, 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 hit enter, it should take me to that item page. It doesn't. If hopefully you remember why, is because as soon as our route matches shop, it's gonna stop right there. It doesn't care what comes after. So if we go back to our app.js, we need to specify that this needs to be exact, okay? When we go to shop, this needs to be exact. If there's something additional to it, well, then it should go down here. So if we don't have this exact, it's gonna stop right here as soon as it matches this /shop. Okay, it's just gonna render out shop. It doesn't care about this route anymore. So make sure to specify exact there. And now if we take a look, oh, look at that. Let's go back. We have shop, and as soon as we click on one, it's gonna take us to the item. Super cool. However, how can we get additional information about this specific item? So that's kind of what we wanna do here. So everything works so far. As you can see, every route that we generate is new. So it's totally new. Perfect. And let's see how we can do that. So the cool thing is about this API is that we can get a specific item if we take a look here. And all it does is we need this link again. So we're going to fetch this data and we can just pass this ID in that we're getting. So let me copy this from here and paste it in my item detail. So item detail here. Again, I set up this use effect so we can do const fetch item, so singular on this one. I'm gonna add async here to it, like so. And here I can say const fetch item is gonna be equal to, I'm gonna add await fetch. I'm gonna fetch this link. And before I do that, I'm gonna add backticks, like so. And then I'm gonna say const data is gonna be, or item is gonna be equal to await, and this is gonna be fetch item.json. So everything we pretty much did in the other one. Perfect, and I'm just gonna console log this. So console log item, the response that we get back. And now in the use effect, I just wanna call this function, fetch item. Perfect. I'm not gonna add this to the state yet, just so we can see what's happening. So when we go now to a specific item, it's gonna fetch that data. However, it fetches that data always with this specific ID. But what if I wanna fetch it with the ID that I'm going from here, from the shop, okay? Because here we are passing it in here. So we have a link and we display the name. And the cool thing is that when we link to something, we get access to something in our props. Now let's take a look on what we get access to. So when you do a link to somewhere and you arrive somewhere, and here, for this example, this is where we arrive on this item detail page. in here, we get something. So if we do curly braces, we get access to something called match. What is match, Ed? Let's take a look. Console log, match. So take a look, we get access to a few cool properties here. Is exact, true. We get access to params, the path that we're going to, and the URL that we're going to. But in this case, what we need is that ID that we're passing in here. So if we take a look here in params, we get access to that ID. So that's super cool because we can take out this get IDs here and set it equal to the thing that we get from the router. So we can delete that where it says equal, and I can just add a $sign and curly braces here, and I can say match dot, let's take a look, it's gonna go match params and ID, match params dot ID. Perfect, hit save, and let's take a look. Now we should be able to fetch a specific data matched to whatever item that we have. So maybe I want to go to helium, hit helium, and look at that, we're fetching all the details from the helium item. And now everything is super cool because we can just add this to our state and render everything out. So the thing we're getting back here is an object. So our set state is going to be an object. And here I just want to say set item to our item that we're getting back. Perfect. So let's kind of render out. Let's see if we have a picture here or something. We have an images in here. So that's going to be item.images.information, for example. So we can also render out the name if we want. So we can do item. There's so much information here. So you can go through these item. Let's go with name, item.name, hit save. Let's see if that works. And that works wonderfully. There we go. We can go back to shop and take a look at that. We are getting back all the dynamic data. Let's take a look if we can do an image, and we are gonna leave it at that. Item.images. Let's do transparent. Hit save. Take a look. That might give us an error because it's gonna say transparent is undefined. And since this images is another object in here, it's going to say transparent is undefined. What we can do is just add images in here and set it equal to an empty object. And as soon as it gets back that information, it's going to render out on the screen. So there we go, everybody. Take a look at that. We can build a full-on dynamic website just with React Router, and the possibilities are super awesome in here. Whew, and that's the basics of React Router. This is one of those libraries that I usually incorporate in all of my projects because it's just such an essential thing in every application. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you again so very much for watching. Please drop a sub if you haven't and turn on the notification so you know when the new stuff is coming out. Also follow the socials, Twitter and Instagram. All right, take care everybody, and until next time, bada bing bada boom.